Good morning. Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 15th day of October 2024. In studio, I have Nderitu Mureithi, who is the former governor of Laikipia County. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning.
You've been silent and gone. Where have you been?
Well, I'm here. I've been to many places.
Yeah.
I've been to Malawi.
Yeah.
Talking to them about public debt. I've been to Sri Lanka.
Oh.
I've been to Egypt. I've been to many places.
Interesting. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Mheshimiwa Beatrice Elachi is the Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North. Good morning.
Morning, Sam. How are you?
I am all right. At least we've been seeing you. Titus Lote is the Member of Parliament for Kacheliba. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've also been lost for some weeks or maybe months.
Yeah, trying to analyze issues.
Oh, is it? Yeah. We'll benefit from your analysis this morning. Then Senator Richard Onyonka from Kisii County. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
It's good to see you again.
I'm good.
Now, the main story is, there are several, but you've said that the Daily Nation is talking about, will the courts save Gachagua? DP Gachagua has filed 26 cases in a bid to block the impeachment proceedings against him. And today he hopes the Senate will rule in his favor and stop the Senate trial scheduled for tomorrow and Thursday. Of course, the Chief Justice yesterday empaneled a three-judge bench that is led by Justice Eric Ogola that is supposed to hear consolidated cases in regards to this particular matter. On the standard, it's race against time. DP is a man under siege and with each clock chime, the news tightens with options running out. His replacement is imminent, even as he stares at a life out of public office. Is he negotiating a way out? Are the courts going to put asunder what the politicians have crafted? Who will take the hot seat if Rigathi Gachagua packs his bags? What a moment for succession to be planned before the holder of the office leaves office. I don't know, because you've been quiet, former governor, let me begin with you on this particular one, on your thoughts about what is happening in the country, the tribulations that are facing, or rather that DP faces.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, Sam, impeachment is a constitutional process. Oversight without sanction could be sterile. So, I don't know the detail of the charges. Maybe in any case, they might not really anticipate debate. But what I can say is that, impeachment is a tool in the Constitution for the legislative branches to use, in making their oversight effective.
Right.
You can also liken it to what citizens were doing just a few months ago under Article 1, which is that ultimately citizens can say, we are tired with you whole lot, out you go. So, I think that's as much as I can say about impeachment. Yeah. In terms of course, a particular leader involved, it must be a tough time.
Right.
Where be they a governor or a deputy president or a president or anybody involved, because then of course you have to defend yourself. But ultimately, when we say checks and balances, that's what it is about. That the various institutions, the way they are crafted in the Constitution, need to have essentially teeth to bite.
Right.
So that we can all hold one another to account.
Teeth to bite.
Yeah.
Now, Senator, this matter, of course, there has been all those attempts. The Daily Nation is reporting 26 cases since this process began, way before the motion was presented. I think there were 1 or 2 cases that had been filed saying that National Assembly should be stopped from considering a motion if it comes. Now, here we are. The Senate begins hearing the impeachment trial tomorrow. How are senators preparing, knowing all the activities in the corridors of justice?
What I'm happy about is that my colleagues have kind of come to the conclusion that the expectations from the public is much higher. Therefore, the standard that we're going to utilize or uphold has to be a standard that is, one, acceptable by Kenyans and that is believable. So in reality, we are waiting for all the evidence to be tabled for the simple reason that the Senate is now the prosecuting arm, if I can use that word. Our job is now to prosecute. In other words, look at the evidence, the way it's presented, look at the witnesses, evaluate their evidence, because we have clerks and Senate officials who will always tell us what a statement means or what an issue means. The second thing that I think many senators are looking at, and that is why you saw they made that decision yesterday, is that we must use due process. We must be in a position where if members of the county assembly are required to prosecute their matter in a certain way according to the law and according to the constitution without violating rights of anybody during the process, that is the case. Like you remember yesterday, the reason why the issue of 32.3 came up is because when you get the total number of MCAs, when you subtract that number from the ones who are supposed to vote and ones who are not supposed to vote, then you found that the members of the county assembly, or indeed the clerk, should have informed, or the speaker should have informed members of the county assembly there was a ruling from the Supreme Court before, which was very simple and clear. It said there's no human being who can be 3.3, or I mean 23.3, 23.6, a human being. So if you go past 4, if it is 3.4, then naturally you flip that over and make it into a whole human being. So they should have gotten 35 members of the county assembly instead of 34. I'm just explaining it that way. So where we are as a Senate, we are also going to look at what the charges of the DP are, the issues which are being raised. We are going to be advised accordingly, and when the time comes, I believe that members of the Senate will vote their conscience, because they understand, we do understand that this is a very weighty matter.
Right.
This is a matter that basically borders on Kenya's very own survival as a country, for the simple reason that there are people who support the DP who feel that they're being violated and they're being abused because of the political expediency. But there are also other people who feel that the DP hasn't behaved very well. And therefore, where do you go and censure him? Where do you discuss his behavior? My feeling is, whatever that happens, I really hope that the Senate will deliver so that Kenyans are not disappointed, so that Kenyans don't think that we are favoring either side.
Okay.
Yes, because we see it again, Sami, that it's a quasi-political process. This, you know, most people think that what we are going to do is we are actually running a case with witnesses who are going to be sworn in, and this is, okay, the Senate has powers of, I mean, most of our committees have powers, like the committee will be sitting, will have powers of the High Court. But the reality is, we are seized of the issue that this is a political process, that is agreement between the president and his deputy is political, and yet in reality, the standard that we are expected to use is where there was any crimes and misdemeanors, whether there is any violation of constitutional statutes. So we will be very engaged, and believe me, I believe Kenyans will be happy whatever decision that we take.
All right. I think it would be unfair to ask you further questions in regards to that, because you'll have to apply your mind on it starting tomorrow. But Mheshimiwa Lote, Senator raises an interesting point there, that there's a relationship between the president and the deputy that has suffered, and that this is a quasi-political process. Do you think the National Assembly looked at the politics of it or the facts of it during that debate and voting, now with hindsight?
Oh, well, thank you. I think this is not the first relationship gone sour between the president and the deputy. We've actually seen this from the 1966, when the first president then and the first vice president, Jaramogi Odinga, differed. And we've actually seen the differences coming through and through. That notwithstanding, if you listen very carefully to the discussions that was in the National Assembly, there was nothing to deal with the relationship between the deputy president and the president. In fact, all the facts that were tabled, the 11 facts, were all basically about the facts of leadership, not anything to deal with political relationship. I know that a lot of Kenyans are politically inclined to think that whatever we are discussing, or whatever Senate will be discussing, or even whatever that will come to courts, because ultimately it will go back to our courts, is political. But I think I want to extricate this from the National Assembly to say that all the 11 counts that were discussed within the National Assembly were basically a matter of the character of the Deputy President as described in Article 181 and Article 144, 145, and 150 of the impeachment of the Deputy President. Yeah.
So it was just about facts?
It's about facts. It's about facts.
You started about that?
If there is anything that is not factual, probably the Senator can enlighten us a little bit, but what we were discussing at the National Assembly is all about facts.
All right. Mheshimiwa Elachi, there's a clip I want us to listen to about some of the arguments before the National Assembly, especially when members of Parliament are talking about the personal relations between the Deputy President and legislators. Do you have that? Let's listen to it.
For there to be integrity in the political governance of our country, Rigathi Gachagua must.
He has been attacking women, and especially members of parliament, me and others included.
Kwa mfano, aliita mmoja wetu Mheshimiwa Jematia na kumuita malaya. Unapoita mwanamke yoyote malaya, umeita wamama wote wa Kenya malaya.
I humbled myself and requested and asked the Deputy President to intervene so that those houses, Mr. Speaker, a parcel of 4,000 acres, 325 acres, I requested him to have the 300 acres where the houses were seated, to have those people even pay to Portland. But the names he called me, Mr. Speaker, I cannot call the mayor.
He went ahead to refer to the members of parliament from Mount Kenya region as Gakonia and Kunda Gotome and Komereras, Honorable Speaker. That is not acceptable, Honorable Speaker.
The Deputy President on that occasion did stand up and tell the President to our face that he had come down to get him from the Nyanza tour that we were undertaking, and that he had no business staying for too long in Nyanza. I looked at him and I wondered what was the problem with his compos mentis. In other words, was he of sound mind?
If there is no other reason that has brought us here, Honorable Speaker, it is to protect the family that is being disinherited of their property under coercion, blackmail, and threats.
No, the former Deputy President of Kenya should know that when you touch anything of the orphans, it is not Kenya Kwanza, it is not Azimio, but it is God Almighty that will put the fire on you.
If the Deputy President had been quiet, he would have carried many people in this house. But he did not tame the tongue.
So, Mheshimiwa Lote, I was playing that so that we can test what you're saying, that the debate on the floor of the House was about facts. None of those sentiments was in the motion.
Well, they were not in the motion. But if you look at Article 10 of our Constitution about principles and values, it talks about values that every state officer is supposed to uphold. And so those actually came in because we are talking about a character of a deputy president that then requires to uphold Article 10 of our Constitution. And so as much as they were not amongst the 11 counts that were on the deputy president, the character of the deputy president was also supposed to be discussed, because that character is what brought in the 11 counts that we were discussing at the House. And so it was important that we discuss about his character as in relationship to the Article number 10 of our Constitution. So it is important.
So why not debate the grounds themselves? Because
the grounds were also debated. I think what was picked was those aspects that were not...
Those members of parliament are speaking on the floor of the House to persuade the rest of the members. Why not debate the grounds themselves?
The grounds were debated. because what we have played is not the entire discussion in Parliament.
But those are individual members.
But those were individual members that were also bringing in other characters of the Deputy President, the person of the Deputy President. So it was important. I don't think we can block ourselves from also looking at all other aspects of the Constitution that is actually under violation. Article number 10 of the Constitution was violated by the Deputy President.
Should that matter, Mheshimiwa Elachi, that there's a motion, very detailed, 57 pages, I think. There's evidence of the Deputy President, more than 500 pages. But, of course, the expression on the floor of the House are matters that are separate from any of what is on paper.
You see, Sam, a political process is a very painful process. And it's not theory. It's very different. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how the words were used there. All you need to do now, if you are a lawyer, you will have to take them back and look at in what articles does all that go back to. And as he says, it goes back to character, it goes back to Article 27, it goes back to Article 10. It takes you verified, takes you to leadership and integrity. So they might say it the way they were saying it, but it's in court. I think when you go to court, when you find lawyers in court, you'll be so surprised where they'll take you. I will take you to a journey and you'll be wondering, is that what brought me in court? But the judge will tell you to proceed and listen because they are trying to get something from you, and in the end, they will get it. So it's the same, but it's only that now in both parliaments, because even in Senate, and the senior is here, you will find somebody going in a very interesting direction. And it's not a court. You see, this is not a court. Yeah. That is why you see we were not allowed also to question him in the National Assembly. You listen him in silence, you get. And so that's the painful part. But you see in Europe, because it's like in Africa, we like talking English instead of talking our own languages, and then we come and borrow a law, but when the things come tough, we find it so difficult to face. So tell me in Europe why you won't go through the same, and you will go to the deepest. They will tell you even of your children, even of or the way you treat your own family, and they will bring you, and by the time they are finishing, you are resigning. In fact, you don't go through any other. In fact, in Europe, you won't even start. The moment you start talking about families in Europe and you're in leadership, you resign very fast. Because in Europe, they believe as you come to take an office, a public office space, the same character you do in your house, how you treat your family, how you treat your people, is the same way they are expecting you to treat others. So you see, that's the difference with us Africans and them. But then now let's come home, and now let us look at this process. You see, Article 150, when it was put by the experts in the Constitution, I think they were guessing. I doubt whether the Kenyans were ready to use it. And they never believed it will come to be used. So it was just there.
A deputy president.
Not just him, even the president. Yes. Because we can impeach also. So it was just there.
A deputy president.
Not just him, even the president. Yes. Because we can impeach also the president.
Right.
And so I think they put it just because part of the Constitution, and we are borrowing so much from America, it has to be there. But in real sense, as an African, even Africa is wondering, is Kenya okay? Or they are still driving there. They have not removed the guns and everything. They are still working. And they are impeaching their deputy president. They can't believe. So that is how interesting it is, but very sad also. And I would say that I believe in the Senate.
Why is it sad?
Well, sad because some will feel sad. For us, we say in politics is interest. Let me just say it today. Because I can see Central feeling, and they are my uncles feeling, oh, it's, I want to tell them today, it is interest. The day we were doing Iyala, I want to give you this example, and I keep on giving it. And I said, one day it will haunt many people. We were doing Iyala. We were voting. My uncles from Central decided they cannot give any other person a vote. even not abstaining, even not rejecting. They just kept the vote. When it came to our name of my act, they give. I told them, as you have done this, remember in politics, it's interest. You will need an ally. Who will be your ally? But at that time, yes, they wanted to prove the numbers. But I told them, with this constitution, there's nothing called numbers. Because this constitution, you can have numbers and find yourself in a Clinton-Trump competition like the last time, where he gets more states and you get more popular vote and he goes and becomes president. It's the same with us. So I told them, you don't do that. You need allies. So it can be, as you say, people talking, but some of them in their hearts, they went back now to remember that day. Some of them. Some of us were like, look at the character, look at the issues that have been raised. Yeah. Does it deserve? Does it not? And you see, because this is not a trial chamber, yes, it's a matter of saying we do it, but the Senate will decide and will go in detail. And Kenyans that I know today, Kenyans, the moment whatever will happen, you know, it's good to also say this because this is how our character, a sad character again, Sam, is that when the Senate finishes, whatever verdict they will put, whatever you will read here, you'll be so shocked. That's when you know we are very interesting people. And we go, I don't know how, God help us. We will say things, even the ones Senate needed to have known, they will know now from Mutandao. Yeah, that's how we are.
Now, with all this that is going on, Senator, I mean, I don't envy you because you have such a serious decision to make here. Mm. And people are saying that, she says it's about interests, that now you have a broad-based arrangement in the political...
No, I didn't say broad-based, Sam. I said politics is interest. Part of you, don't bring the broad-based.
I didn't say you. I said, you said that politics is about interests.
It is.
End of quote.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying that there's also the understanding that currently in the broad-based arrangement, that the House is likely to vote in that direction, similar to what we saw at the National Assembly. So what is the place of facts? What is the place of emotions? What is the place of interpersonal relations, even as you go to determine this?
You're being very kind. Leader Madam Elachi doesn't want you to talk about whether it's bread-based, broad-based, bride-based. You know, it's become everything. There's something that happened at the National Assembly the other day, which, again, this is an exercise that we are learning from. The members of parliament did not sit, or neither did they receive counsel from, I believe, the members of the clerks and members of the legal department or whatever, so that they understand that even when you're making your accusations, they must be based on the motion that you've tabled. That's number one. Number two, the second issue that came out very clearly is that, yes, because of the broad-based arrangement, you saw many of my colleagues from the ODM side speaking passionately about Honorable Gachagua's issues. And therefore, in the public realm, in the public sight, it looks like members of parliament have just become a lynch mob, whose intention and purpose was to try and excruciatingly punish Gachagua and talk about everything they could talk about him. But I think the way you have looked at it, my answer is very simple. The National Assembly was discussing and basically raising issues which they felt many of them were using to justify or to explain why DP Gachagua is actually being impeached. But for us at the Senate, we have decided and we have said this, and it's very simple. We are looking at the facts. We are going to look at each and every accusation that has been laid. If you say that the Deputy President has participated in disinheriting children of his brother, please give me the evidence. I'm not going to be discussing hearsay. If you tell me that he's tribal, I will tell you, Sami, that yes, chances are, in fact, those facts do exist. He was giving names of individuals who come from his community, but Isn't that what the president has done in employing his permanent secretaries, who are now over 100, and yet in reality, yes, Sammy.
What do you mean 100 PSs?
Yes.
No.
Absolutely.
In total, they're just about
Sammy,
51.
the list can come here, I give it to you, brother. Don't challenge that, please.
There are 51 PSs.
Sammy, there are some where you have a department which has got 2.
I'm saying.
Okay, let me simplify it for us. PSS and senior government officers in state departments and corporations. There are more than 100. And if I sit down and give you... Wait, Sammy.
Would have to count.
Sammy, the list is... It started 3 years ago when I was talking about it here. Yes. You can run through that list. So what Gachagua has done is not shocking. That is how we've been behaving. What Gachagua has talked about, this was a company. Shares were being distributed. He said the president kept 60%. He was given his percentage. Musalia and Weta got their percentage. That's the reality. So when we in the Senate are looking at this impeachment, we don't see Gachagua as a failure. We don't see Gachagua as a tribalist. We see him as a consequence of this system which has become so dysfunctional that all we do when we seek power, Sammy, is to take state resources, to take state opportunities and share them between our friends, our relatives, and our tribesmen. And that is a fact. So let us interrogate that as Kenyans. Let us know Gachagua is an accident. Out of this reality that we are facing, what is our reality? We are a country that is so dysfunctional that we have gotten rid of meritocracy. What we do, we now reward chronism. We reward relatives. Right. We reward those people who helped us win the election because they donated the money. And it does not matter whether we are going to reward somebody who has no capacity because they come from a poor background, because they're a child of a border rider. And what we have done is basically brought that war to the public, and the public is now discussing it. And that is why when people are saying, kufa dereva kufa makanga, what Kenyans are telling us is very simple. This system you guys are running, we know it's cooked. So you're either going to get rid of each other so that we can have a new start if there's anything like that can come in. Number 2, or you are going to sit down and agree that you are going to fix the mess that you have created yourselves. And that is where I am. So going to vote in the Senate for me is a matter that I will interrogate. I will look at it. I'll even consider the historical aspect of this. Sammy, how many times have we said here, it is not an accident that in 1963, Mzee Kenyatta disagreed with Jaramogi and Murumbi. You come, Moi disagreed with Kibaki and Saitoti. You come, Kibaki disagreed with Raila, Kalonzo was on the side, struggling with it, he didn't know how to handle it. What happened? Uhuru came. Only that Uhuru maintained William until after his first term. The second term, William went crazy. So what is repeating itself is exactly what William did to the president, who was Uhuru. So why are we behaving?
So is that the purpose of Article 150?
Absolutely.
To deal with a disagreement in the presidency?
Absolutely. Which was never meant, the constitution we brought in on 2010 was to cure that. The constitution...
Let me rephrase. Is the essence of Article 150 to cure disagreements between the president and the deputy?
Absolutely. It is supposed to act as a deterrent. It's supposed to make you have second thoughts. Because you won this election as a presidency. William Ruto didn't go and say, vote for me, decide whether you're going to give me Gachagua or not. They went as a team. Uhuru went with President William Ruto as a team. So where we are today, and that is why, if you remember during the elections, how many times did William Ruto say, I will never mistreat my VP. I will never treat him the way Uhuru has treated me. I will never do that. Now, the reason why people are saying we don't care about what you're saying is because everything looks, not that the president could be the one giving instructions for those things to happen, or even if it was, it doesn't bother me. The point is exactly what he said he wouldn't do is exactly what has happened.
Now, Governor, so what lessons do you learn from here? Because it appears, I don't know how successful you are when you were governor and your deputy, how that relationship was, but it appears it's going to be very difficult for a president and a deputy to be in good terms throughout the term. What lessons are we picking? Because there will be elections in future.
Well, let me start here because I disagree with my friend Mheshimiwa Alachi. You know, just this last week, I was in Cairo for the week with different people from the continent. And people's perception of Kenya is actually quite different. People, in fact, the phrase used is that perhaps the democratic teenager is now turning into a young adult. People have a very positive view of democratic practice in Kenya. I saw that the month before while I was in Sri Lanka. People have a really positive view of Kenya and Kenya's ability to step forward. Disagreements, fine, but to step forward in democratic contestation. Number two, I don't think that there is any article in the Constitution, again, I disagree with my friend and Mheshimiwa, that we were not guessing. And I think Mheshimiwa was there also in that 10th Parliament. We were not guessing about the Constitution. And the Constitution was the result of nearly 20 years of effort, going back to 1992, and debate. And you will recall there was, in fact, a failed attempt in 2004 or 5 the Bomas draft that, or was it now called the Kilifi draft that failed at referendum. So the Constitution was a very well thought through, debated, canvassed Constitution. Albeit that at the beginning of 2008, we nearly went to civil war in this country. And perhaps that also created the circumstances that allowed us as a political class to agree to finally enact the Constitution. So I do not believe that it was not well. It was very well thought through, and there is no article that is expected to be idle. All of them are. So what I would myself appeal to Senate and everybody involved is that, emotions obviously are running high, but what we must do is find our wits about ourselves to see this for what it is. Impeachment processes are created in the Constitution on all executives. So the president, the deputy president, the governor, the deputy governor, and so on. And the point of it is that the legislatures that are expected to provide oversight on the executive must have instruments to exercise that oversight. Now, Senator has said, look, this thing, an impeachment process is a sort of quasi-judicial, quasi-political. And I would agree with him. Because remember, in politics or in leadership, the question of confidence, and how do you measure confidence? How do you create confidence? So think about the role of a speaker, for instance. You are a speaker as long as you command the respect and confidence of the House.
And you're neutral.
Now, you have seen courts in Kenya trying to say to assemblies, particularly county assemblies, that no, you cannot remove the speaker. But it is not an employment contract. It is, do we as members have confidence in the ability of Sam or Ndirito or Richard to shepherd the affairs of our assembly? So we must remember that this process is partly about confidence. It is, and that is the political side, but it's also about facts, and that is the judicial side. That if we say somebody has gone contrary to the Constitution, where is the evidence that that person has indeed acted? Is also a process that must be conducted within rules. And I think Senator has explained that in very, good detail. So, to repeat it, because you cannot have a fraction of a person,
right, you
are expected to basically to round off, not downwards, which is what the Assembly did in the case that was decided yesterday. They're supposed to round up upwards.
Very cheeky.
Yeah, so if it is like 32.4 or 32.3, you should go to the next highest number, because the individual cannot be. And on that basis alone, the Senate was able to say, look, we cannot proceed with this matter because you have not followed the rules.
Right.
Never mind whether you have confidence or not, or whether you have provable facts that can stand the test in court. So, it's a political process, confidence. It is a legal process, facts. But it's also a process that must be conducted in a certain manner, so that things like natural justice and so on, and that the person is not disadvantaged. I want to just make two quick points.
Yes.
This relationship, you say, between deputy governors and governors, between deputy presidents and presidents. The reality is that in the history of human beings, the relationship between a queen and a queen maker is always very delicate. Because obviously, if you can make this queen, you can make another. Frankly, Sam, before civilization really took root, the first order of business for a queen was to behead the queen maker. Yeah. Now, we don't do that in modern times. So the relationship needs the leaders involved to be really, to put extra effort.
Right.
You asked me about the relationship with my own deputy. We had a fantastic relationship. We were professionals. Mm-hmm. It could have gone south if we did not have the presence of mind to say, look, we are professionals providing leadership in a certain space. And because we are able to do that, even today, we are friends and we have a professional relationship. And I believe we'll have one going forward. Right. So it requires work on both, whether it's the president and the deputy president or the governor and the deputy governor. If you don't work at it,
right,
you will definitely quarrel. Look, my final point on this one. You seemed surprised when Mheshimiwa Alachi said that, look, this politics is about interest. It's not just a Kenyan thing. In all human conduct in the world, political processes are about interests. And it's not something to feel sort of queasy about. That's what it is. Even as individual leaders, you look for power to promote certain interests or certain ideas. So it's not something to hide.
Okay. All right.
That's what it is.
All right. I want us to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll be talking about the counties and the situation they are in. We understand that for the current financial year, it's only the resources for the month of July that have hit the accounts of the counties. They're still waiting for resources for the month of August, September, and now October, because they should be released at the 15th, on the 15th of every month, which is today. We're back in a moment. Stay tuned.